There's no doubt that slasher films are some of the most popular films on the planet. From Scream to Halloween, us horror fans love a good flick. But what about those select times we want to become the slasher? Not in the literal sense, but in our favorite games. In Fallout games, you can basically do anything because of its RPG nature. So, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as Michael Myers? For this run, we will be playing New Vegas exclusively like Michael Myers. That means no running, no ranged weapons, no backing out of a fight. Myers wouldn't be scared, so neither will I. If it comes at me, I kill it. I decided from the very beginning of the game that my Laurie Strode would be General Oliver, and in that case, a Yes Man playthrough is required, as it's the easiest to do with the restrictions I have on me. I started off with my name, debated on what gender to choose before remembering Michael Myers is a woman, and stood up. Words cannot describe how mind-numbingly boring walking is, and you'll see that throughout this run. I walked over to the vigor tester, set my special stats to what I think Myers would be, sat down on the couch, and was talked at by an old man. I tried to answer his questions as sadistic as possible, and it seemed to scare him, so I'm doing it right. Afterwards, I picked my skills, which were melee weapons, because knife, barter to get a lower price on healing items and a higher price on stuff sold, and repair to repair my clothing, though I would come to regret it later on. I then chose heavy-handed for more melee damage because the knife sucks, and skilled for a +5 to all skills, but a -10% in experience earned. I then looted everything Doc Mitchell was worth, found my star weapon, was given the Pip-Boy and Volt suit, and headed outside for the first time since my near death. Victor outran me, so I couldn't talk to him yet, so I went to the saloon to talk to Sonny Smiles. Since I had to do this anyway, I just shot the bottles to get it over with. I told Sonny I was out of there, sold my items to Chet, fixed Trudy's radio for easy XP and caps, and intercepted Victor. Obsidian paid me back for that by making a Rad Scorpion intercept me, and it became readily apparent that this playthrough on hard was a no-go, so I whisked out and turned it down to very easy. After wasting far too many Stimpaks, I killed the hell out of that Scorpion. Victor returned the favor and intercepted me. I walked back to Doc Mitchell's, checking over my shoulder for Rad Scorpions, bought all the Stimpaks I could afford, left, and I was off on the longest march ever to Primm. It was here I debated on using the lunge attack to move faster, as well as jumping, but I decided against those things. Myers doesn't frolic through the meadows, so neither will I. Along the way, a gecko decided to charge me, so I ended his existence. I got to Primm and was talked to from 50 feet away, entered what was left of the town, defused a mine before it exploded both my legs off, and got to coat my knife with human blood for the first time. One fell before me, and then another. An annoying thing about this run is the enemies walk backwards while shooting me faster than I can lunge at them. I entered the casino, was interrogated by Johnson Nash, and was off to the Bison Steve Hotel to rescue Deputy Beagle. I insta-killed one convict, took everything he was worth, and put my level up into intense training. I tried, unsuccessfully, to intimidate a door, opened it with the terminal instead, and realized that a true Myers had slicked back hair. That's better. A convict tried to throw me a surprise party, but Myers hates surprises. He crippled my head after I crippled his, but eventually he went to sleep. Melee fighting is exhausting. I took the key, entered the back rooms, saw the man I was supposed to save but was interrupted, and attacked the cavalry. Deputy Beagle was lost to the fire. I killed another convict, gave the leader an express ticket to hell, holstered my weapon after a job well done, and left the hotel. I was headed to Nipton, and this would be the longest walk ever. If the auto move key didn't exist, I would have gone mad. I walked up on a shootout, thought I had the Commando Pro perk from Modern Warfare 2, stalked my prey and had him taken from me, said goodnight to a jackal, and lopped the leader's head off her shoulders, proving how strong Myers really is. I entered the station and spilled everyone's guts on the ground, killed all the mantises, looted a corpse because, well, he didn't need the items anymore, and set off again to Nipton. I debated grabbing Willow but decided against it since Myers works alone and she's a modded companion. I walked past an ant who flashed its mandibles at me, walked along the outskirts of the road to avoid a family of ants, tried to stalk but failed miserably, killed a gang member and sent his girlfriend to hell with him, got my head crippled as I charged at another and iced him for his insolence, and wasted the last member with a decapitation. I then tried to stalk another gang member but she outwalked me, so I gave up, killed Lottery Man because he talked to me, ran into the jackal I couldn't catch earlier, and finally laid her to rest. I then reloaded the save after I realized I was 2 in over my head, went back to Goodsprings, bought more Stimpaks, fast traveled back to Nipton and went the back way to avoid confrontation, ended up being shot at anyway and leveled up, dumping the points into melee weapons and sneak for some reason. I put 2 meanies with submachine guns in timeout before taking their stuff as punishment. I then walked and walked and walked before finally reaching Novak. I waited for Cliff, sold what I had on me, waited for him to get more caps, took said caps from him, and got stim packs from Ada Strauss. I then fast traveled back to Prim, rightfully took some NCR armor, and fast traveled back to Novak to get to Boulder City. I did the super secret tire skip, walked some more, killed a few garden snakes, and slept to heal my bones. I got sidetracked by the Lucky 38, was ambushed by a family of rad scorpions, became the executioner, and entered the city's ruins. I spoke to Jessup, killed him for helping Benny kill me, and let the NCR kill off everyone else like the coward I am. I then left the city, was rolled up on by Victor, and made the long monotonous walk to Camp McCarran. I arrived, entered the hub, followed some NCR soldiers, idiots, and made it to the strip where Victor once again intercepted me. I entered the Lucky 38, talked to Mr. House, and was sent to get the platinum chip. I tried to convince Swank to let me kill Benny, but I have the personality of a mud puddle, so I left to raise my speech. I fast traveled back to Goodsprings where that giant rat scorpion from earlier respawned, killed it, and realized that this would be a problem every time I come to this town. I took all of Chet's hard-earned money, bought every stim pack Doc Mitchell had, took my money back, and fast traveled to Freeside. I told Ben to piss off and began walking my way towards the Kings. I told Pacer his boss is only worth 50 caps, talked to King, and was off to spy on Oris. After passing by a kid and wishing I had the Killable Children mod installed, I got there, hired him, and watched as the game wouldn't let him outrun me. I had a one-sided conversation with him, watched him fake kill some guys, confirmed it, and watched him peel off with my money. I returned to King, got lost, told him the 411, and was sent off again, this time to the fort. I talked to an old guy, talked to a young guy, got sidetracked and stole a snow globe, returned to King because quest, and was off again. I talked to a lady with an ugly ass haircut, bought her stim packs, and was off to talk to Elizabeth. I got the questions right thanks to a guide telling me what they are, got the location, and was finally going to talk to Elizabeth. After more walking, I got to the train station, said the top secret password, entered, talked to Elizabeth, and it was back to the King. I stopped by the Atomic Wrangler and got 2 quests that I wouldn't end up completing, got yelled at by Pacer, told the truth to King anyway, and was off to talk to Elizabeth again. I got her to stand down, went back to tell the King, and got my favor. I didn't like how this guy stared at me, so I decided I would come back and exterminate the Kings. I walked to the strip, got a magazine to boost my speech, and talked to Swank again. I convinced him to send Benny to his room, waited since I beat him there, relished in his surprise to see me, and liquidated him. I took the chip, put my points into an array of skills, and picked up Super Slam to change the game. I talked to Yes Man and was off to kill Mr. House. I entered the Lucky 38, turned some snow globes into Jane, found Mr. House's favorite one, was disappointed that it was worth the same amount as all the others, and watched a demonstration. I then talked to Mr. House about Fortification Hill, and this is the first big mistake I made this playthrough. I never went to upgrade the army, making the ending a lot harder than it needed to be. But that's a problem for future me. Present me has a Yes Man to install. I strode into the antechamber, opened Mr. House, and put him out of his misery, fulfilling my good deed for the day. I then left, talked to Yes Man, and had him installed into the mainframe. He told me to meet the locals, I leveled up, and I was off to Gamora. I squinted my eyes at Eomurdas and left. I then headed to the Ultralux, spoke to Marjorie, spoke to Mortimer because I was curious, and left. I then fast traveled to Camp McCarran to get the Red Rock Canyon a bit faster. I walked, laid out a fiend, ended another and the world went blurry, killed Cook and saw Super Slam in action, and fast traveled back to Camp McCarran to find the Gunrunners. I sold everything I could to the Vendatron, stood in one spot for 4 days straight, sold more stuff, and eventually wandered to the New Vegas Medical Clinic to clean inventory. I bought the subdermal implant to take a bit more damage and lower the crippling chance, cleared out her stim pack supply, and traveled back to Goodsprings. Remember how I said that giant rad scorpion would be an issue? Well, here it is. He killed Easy Pete, so I returned the favor. I then bought all the Stimpaks Doc Mitchell had and was on my way to the Brotherhood of Steel. I walked and finally reached Hidden Valley. I waited out the storm, entered the bunker, was treated like a hooker after she didn't bring in enough money, and got my assignment from Elder McNamara. I was to drive away an NCR Ranger. I got my stuff back, talked to the Ranger, reported back to McNamara, and left. I would have killed them all, but that's one fight Myers isn't going to win. I traveled to the ruins, killed some fiends for easy caps and XP, and accidentally ran. After reloading a save and killing the fiends again, I was on my way to Red Rock Canyon. I walked some more, walked to where the game told me to, and fast traveled back to the medical clinic. It was now time for the boomers, but first I needed an outfit, so I went back to the strip. I was going to Michelangelo's. After donning some NCR armor to stop the unwanted attention, I arrived. After killing Kate for her threads, I left and got one step closer to feeling like Michael Myers. Look at that red. I traveled to Nellis, bet with George, made my way to the boomers after wasting most of my healing items, talked to Pearl, and traveled back to the Lucky 38 to talk to Yes Man. He sent me to the El Dorado substation, so I fast traveled to the gas station since it was the closest and began my walk. Along the way, I killed an entire platoon of ants, laughed at their fire, and after the smoke cleared, all their bodies lay before me. I leveled up and picked stone walls so the legate couldn't knock me down. I was aggroed on from 500 feet away, sent that ant to hell with his friends, and looked at myself. This is the face of someone who is dead inside. I put on my NCR armor, installed the chip, returned to Yes Man, and was ready to join the second battle of Hoover Dam. Remember how I said I would regret not upgrading the Securitrons at Fortification Hill? Well, this is where it came in. I stood behind some rangers, killed the sniper for whatever reason, entered the dam, and convinced the heavy troopers to let me in. I installed Yes Man, overloaded the dam, and exited. The only Securitron there took care of the Centaurians, thank God, and after watching this Securitron shoot at nothing, I arrived at the Legate's camp. I was challenged by a Praetorian guard and realized just how much I hate the Power Fist. Yeah, there's no simple way to say it. I had my ass kicked here. I'm not even gonna talk with the cuts. I want you to see how annoying this is. I even got stun locked at one point here coming up. After I killed that one, I used every single healing item at my disposal that wasn't a stim pack and became addicted to Med-X. I killed the second Praetorian guard after many limb cripples and stuns and was run up on by two more Power Fist wielding bastards. I was killed with a head explosion because Power Fist beats knife, was stunned some more, was ganged up on and beaten like a housewife, dealt with a guard silently after 10 failed attempts, and crouched until caution turned to hidden. I tried to sneak up on this veteran legionary, failed twice, had my head and torso crippled the third time, and died because stun lock. I eventually killed him, was destroyed in a tent, picked off the last two Praetorian guards, and was ready to fight the Legate. I knew my speech skill was too low, so I didn't bother to talk to him. I then realized how much I f***ed up when I saw two more Praetorian guards flank him. I was bullied by his children and thought my puny knife could block his giant sword. I was wrong. I died again, and it was here that I realized I was royally screwed. I paused the game, and I did not beat Fallout New Vegas as Michael Myers. Is what I would say if I were a quitter. I popped back into the Lucky 38 before the battle and realized I needed to prepare myself more than I thought I did. 15 puny stimpaks wasn't going to cut it, and neither was a speech skill of 40. I exited the Lucky 38 and realized the only way I would beat the Legate is if I had hella stimpaks. So with the power invested in me, I declared it Halloween and went on the killing spree. I appeared in Freeside and began walking towards the Kings. I went inside, killed Rex and King, murdered some gang members, killed Pacer and gained karma for some reason, killed another member, killed 2 kings and a queen, and killed 3 more outside. I then traveled to the Nevada Highway Patrol Station and killed 2 jackals. I debated again on grabbing Willow but decided against it. I ran into a legionary assassin group, killed one, had my head crippled, iced another, and had my head crippled again. This guy kept backing away faster than I could lunge. I spilled his soul on the ground, and I wasted the last one. I killed a family of rad scorpions, arrived at the Mojave outpost, was in for a rude awakening when I found out you can't repair light clothing at vendors, talked to the albino beauty, talked to Jackson, fast traveled to Nipton, killed 3 Legion recruits, killed Vulpes, and traveled back to the outpost. I broke the bad news to Angel Face, traveled to the Gunrunners, and sold some things. I waited 3 days, sold more items, made my way to the medical clinic, and cleared out Usanagi. Waited 3 days, did it again, waited 4 days, and did it one more time. I traveled to the strip, killed a thug because he looked at me wrong, entered the strip, grabbed the Meeting People magazine, and reveled in the fact I had 39 stim packs. I then traveled to the ruins, killed the fiends as is standard by now, and traveled to the East Gate. I was going to West Side to replace my clothes. I walked and walked, entered West Side, wasted 10 minutes getting lost, found my target, and killed Dermot. I took his clothes and was now in the closest color to the real thing. I then went back to the Gunrunners, sold more items, killed Isaac and a guard, killed another guard, and went inside. I dispatched of one gunsmith, wasted another, and silenced the third. I then killed the last guard, exited, sold all I got to the Vendatron, waited a few more days, sold more, waited some more, sold some more. I then traveled to the Nellis Air Force Base to collect the grenades and ammunition in the generator array. I talked to Raquel, got the key, talked to Loyal, got the emitter, and headed to the array. I put an ant to sleep, placed the emitter, and told the ants to cease their resistance. I picked up the unique weapon, looted all the ammo in this building, flipped the switches, and talked to Raquel. I then traveled back to Gunrunners, waited, sold items, and traveled back to Prim. I told Johnson Nash that Beagle died, went to the NCRCF, talked to Myers, talked to Major Knight to have him pardoned, and told Myers the good news. I then killed more legionary assassins, leveled up, and put the points into speech and medicine. I then debated for 8 whole minutes before picking here and now, cleared out the ants for Ranger Jackson, told him as such, and arrived at Camp McCarran. I got the bounties for Major Daughtry, killed Violet with an accidental decapitation, and it was here that OBS froze for 17 minutes, but trust me, I killed Driver Nafai. I got his head, returned to Major Daughtry, and collected my caps. I then traveled back to Goodsprings to face off against that Rad Scorpion for the 4th time, watched it kill Trudy, and I iced it for that. I got healing supplies from Doc Mitchell, sold more things to Vendatron, and did this twice. I then cleared out Usanagi, traveled back to Goodsprings, and killed another giant Rad Scorpion. Bought stim packs, got a genuine jump scare when I saw another Rad Scorpion outside, got healed up by Mitchell, and went outside to face my fears. I killed it and traveled back to the medical clinic. I'm not going to show it, but just know I did the vendor refresh cycle at least 8 times. After all was said and done, I had 157 stim packs. I was more than ready now. I talked to Yes Man and was ready for the second battle of Hoover Dam. You know the script by now. I walked, entered the dam, installed Yes Man, overloaded the dam, and exited. I watched the Securitrons die, died myself, and made it to the camp. I dealt with the opposition, and after a long time, they were all dead. I talked to the Legate, convinced him to have a one-on-one, and the most beautiful thing happened. Super Slam actually worked in my favor for like the first time this run, and I was able to both corner him and keep proccing it. The Legate lay there, weak as the thing he hated most, a woman, slashed him to death. After what felt like ages, the Legate died, the NCR exploded the doors, I killed my Laurie Strode, talked to Yes Man, and I beat Fallout New Vegas as Michael Myers.